Hello, this is Kate Young, Geothermal Engineer and Analyst at the National Renewable Energy Laboratory. The analysis team at NREL has been working with federal, state, and local agencies to develop a geothermal regulatory roadmap for use by agencies, industry, and policymakers in understanding the process and timelines, as well as identifying potential areas of concern. This presentation will provide an overview of the products being developed, as well as how to access them. The presentation is approximately 11 minutes long and is available to the public on YouTube and on OpenAI at en.openai.org/wiki/GRR. The Geothermal Regulatory Roadmap has three main parts. The first part is flowcharts. Flowcharts have been divided into sections based on project development subjects. For example, Section 1 covers the land use planning process, while Section 3 covers the land leasing process. The table of contents gives an overview of the contents of each section. Each section contains multiple flowcharts, developed at 4 levels: general, federal, state, and local levels. The flowcharts have been designed in a linear manner to walk users through all portions of project permitting by asking questions at decision points throughout the process. Let's take a look at a flowchart and walk through some of its features. At the top, each flowchart has been assigned a flowchart number. The first part of the number indicates the section of the roadmap that contains the flowchart. In this example, the flowchart appears in Section 4. The second part of the number is a 2-letter code indicating the jurisdiction of the flowchart. In this example, the FD indicates that this flowchart outlines a federal process. The third part of the number is 1 lowercase letter used to numerically order the flowcharts in a given section. In this example, the A indicates it is the first flowchart listed in Section 4 for the federal section. Each flowchart has a date stamp in the upper left corner, indicating when the flowchart was last updated. The upper right corner of each flowchart contains an approximate length of time the agency expects a process might take to complete. This can be used by developers as a guideline in project planning, but understand that each project is unique, so exact timeframes are unknown. To help guide the user between flowcharts, each flowchart also lists all flowcharts that lead users into this flowchart. In the example shown, flowcharts 4, 4FDB, 4FDC, and 5 point the user to this flowchart, 4FDA. There are many different colors and shapes used for flowchart elements. Let's first talk about the shapes. Diamonds are used to indicate a decision. You'll notice that each decision element has at least 2 arrows coming out of the element, indicating the different outcomes. Decision diamonds are always blue. Ovals are used to identify regulations and laws that have been triggered as the result of a decision. Regulation ovals are always blue. Rectangles are used to identify an action. For example, an agency reviewing a permit application. Rectangles with wavy bottoms are used to indicate a document, for example, a permit application. If multiple documents are required, the icon used is a stack of documents. For example, a multiple documents element would be used if a permit application needs to be submitted with other documents, such as a site map and an application fee. Note that the multiple documents element always shows 3 documents, regardless of the number of documents needed. Different colors are used for action and document elements and indicate the responsible party. Green is used to indicate a developer action or document. Orange is used to indicate an agency action or document. Yellow is used to indicate public participation. Purple is used to indicate some other entity action or document. For example, purple is used to indicate an action taken by a tribe or utility. Gray action boxes are used to direct the user to another page or flowchart. Each element also has consistent features. All elements are assigned an element number. An element number is made up of the flowchart number and a unique element number. In this example, the element number is 24. Action and document elements also have additional features. In the upper left corner, the action entity is identified more clearly. For example, an orange action element might say BLM in the upper left, while a purple action element might say utility. In the lower right corner, an approximate time frame is provided if known, usually in units of days. As mentioned in slide 3, the flowcharts have been designed to be followed in a linear manner by section. For example, if a user wants to understand the exploration permitting process, they could jump to section 4. The overview flowchart in section 4 will help them decide which other flowcharts are needed and at what jurisdictional levels. Let's walk through this example now. As mentioned, this overview flowchart in section 4 will help users decide which other flowcharts are needed and at what jurisdictional levels by asking a series of questions about the projects and land ownership. For example, if the minerals are federally owned and the surface is state-owned, the user would need to see both the state right-of-way process and the BLM exploration application process flowcharts. If the minerals are state-owned and the surface is federally owned, the user would need to see both the federal right-of-way process and the state exploration application process flowchart. Note that at the completion of each flowchart, the user must return to the flowchart from which they came. For example, after completing the state right-of-way process flowchart, the user should return to this flowchart number 4 to continue where they left off, taking them to the next BLM exploration application process flowchart. Similarly, at the end of this exploration flowchart, the user should proceed back to the flowchart from which they came, in this case the overview flowchart shown in the previous slide. Let's continue with this example by looking at one of these flowcharts in more detail. Once at the BLM exploration application process flowchart number 4 FDB, the developer submits its application documents, which are then reviewed by the BLM for completeness. A number of decision points then help decide if and how the process moves forward. After the review, both the developer and the agency meet for an application coordination meeting. The dual entity action is indicated by the use of two colors, the orange box indicating BLM's organization of the meeting, and the green border indicating the developer's participation in the meeting. The next action, indicated by the gray box, directs the user to flowchart 8B, the NEPA process, which should be completed before coming back to finish the last step in this process, the BLM issuing an approved notice of intent to conduct geothermal resource exploration. Getting back to our discussion of the overall regulatory roadmap project, we'll move on to the second part of the deliverables. The second part of the 3 parts of the regulatory roadmap is narratives. The narratives describe and provide more detailed information and links for each of the flowcharts. The narratives can be found on OpenEI at en.openei.org/wiki/GRR, which can be found in the upper right-hand corner of this slide. The narratives provide a general overview of each flowchart, as well as detailed descriptions of each step in the process. It provides information on timing, best practices, and potential pitfalls, and they are organized by paragraph numbers that correspond to the element numbers in the flowcharts. The third part of the regulatory roadmap is the reference material. Like the flowcharts and narratives, the reference material can also be found on OpenEI. The reference material lists provide links to many types of information. In the first column, you'll see agency websites and agency permitting contact information. In the middle, a list of references including permitting forms, memorandums of understanding, agency instruction memorandums, permitting guides such as the California Energy Commission's Guide to Geothermal Permitting, and other additional references. In the final column, a list of regulations, laws, and policies is provided for additional information. This slide provides information about accessing the Geothermal Regulatory Roadmap on OpenEI. Note that because the Geothermal Regulatory Roadmap is in the development phase, the pages have not yet been indexed on the Internet. Therefore, they will not show up on any Google or other search engines, nor are there links from the OpenEI homepage. You must use the links provided on this page to access the GRR, including the GRR homepage, which contains a linked list of sections, as well as a list of flowcharts. This concludes our presentation on materials for the Geothermal Regulatory Roadmap. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at the information provided on this slide. Thank you for listening.